Welcome to AI 50, where data and innovation come together. We use cutting edge AI technology to create advanced language model applications. These applications are designed specifically for the people age 50 and above. Our mission is to understand and cater to their unique needs and preferences, ensuring they get the most out of modern technology. So now, picture this. You're the chief medical officer of a busy hospital. You're working hard to provide high quality care in a changing healthcare world. You feel like there's untapped potential in data your hospital creates every day. You know that ensuring this data could change patient care for the better, but you're not sure where to start. Well, that's when you hear about Dr. Harvey Castro, a visionary doctor and strategic advisor for GPT and healthcare. Well, Dr. Castro has a unique background. He's practiced medicine and led healthcare systems. He's become a leader in innovation in AI and healthcare. He's an expert in making AI technologies work with clinical needs. He creates environments where people work together. He also navigates the ethical issues of using AI in healthcare. Well, this has made him a popular advisor for healthcare organizations. Well, today, we have the privilege of talking to Dr. Castro. We will explore his fascinating journey. We'll gain valuable insights into how AI is changing healthcare. So join us as we learn from a true innovator. Discover how his guidance can help you unlock the full potential of your healthcare data. So, Dr. Castro, welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're thrilled to have you here today. To get things started, could you share an interesting fact or a story about yourself that many people might not know?
Yeah. So I was working in the emergency room and literally I got called into the office. I call it the principal's office saying, "Hey, doc, we need to have a sit down with you." And I was really worried. I was like, "Oh my gosh, did something happen? Did I have a bad outcome with one of my patients?" And they're like, "No, we see that you're doing great. We want to see if you can move faster." And I said, "Well, can you pull all the stats?" And so they showed me all the statistics, and I'm like, "I'm actually above the average." So like, "Yeah, but we've seen you at work, and when you want to work fast, you can work fast, but we want to see if we can get you to see more patients." And I
Mm,
was really upset with them. I was like, I don't understand. Like, am I hurting someone? Is something going on? And they're like, "We want you to order less tests. We want you to spend less time with your patients. And anything that the ER doesn't cannot have to do, send it to the family practice doctor." And I got so upset. I said to them, "My goal is to be a doctor. My goal is to make sure that every patient is taken care of, and I'm not doing anything wrong." And I got to the point where I called the owner of this company I was working for. I was one of the partners. And I said, "Here are your shares back. I want out." And he looked at me like I was crazy. He's like, "Harvey, do you realize how much money you're giving away?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can't work in a place that they're going to ask me to move the meat and to
mm.
push people a certain way. I ethically, I cannot do this." And so I walked away. Fast forward, the company sold, made all this money. My business partners called me like, "Hey, this could have been you." And I said, "No, I sleep well at night. Like, I'm okay." And so that's something that nobody really knows.
Yeah, wow. That's great ethics, commitment, and conviction to serving your patients. Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
So now, what inspired your journey from practicing medicine to becoming a strategic advisor for GPT in healthcare?
That's such a good question. I call myself a little bit of a nutty professor. I enjoy seeing technology, seeing something that's going on, and seeing how I can fix it. And
Mm,
so I was literally in the emergency room coding a patient, and this was when the first iPhone had just came out. And I'm looking at the phone, and I told the nurse, "Hey, we need to start this drip. Let's take care of this person. They're in cardiac arrest." And they're doing CPR. And she went and got a textbook, started thumbing through, and I'm looking at her thinking, no, no, no. Like, we need to do something quick. And so I had that aha moment that I said, "You know what? I'm going to create the first IV Med app in the world." And I did, and I published it, and it went viral. And it was such a success where people were like, man, this is saving lives. Like the old way was taking us a long time. This way, it's seconds. Fast forward, I jokingly and lovingly say this thing called ChatGPT came out, and I'm playing with it, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to change humanity. This is going to change the world. And I remember being so excited. I was in this office. I ran to my wife and I said, honey, I'm going to write a book on how to use ChatGPT in healthcare. And she looked at me. She's like, what is ChatGPT? And what are you talking about? And she thought I was kind of crazy. She's like, honey, no one's going to read your book. No one knows what ChatGPT is. Don't waste your time. And I actually like paused and I thought, you know what? I have a conviction. I'm going to do it. So 3 weeks later, I was selling a book on how to use ChatGPT in healthcare. And fast forward, it's opened up all these doors and companies calling
Mm,
me to give this talk.
mm. That's awesome. Thank you for the work that you do. It's so much needed in the healthcare, right? So along the way, how do you ensure that AI technologies align with clinical requirements and maintain data integrity?
That's an awesome question. Number one, especially healthcare professionals listening to this, we need you to be on the field with us in AI. How do I ensure this? Is we have to have healthcare professionals working with the big companies to make sure that they're solving the solution the correct way. If someone like me is not with them, they're going to fix it in the way they see it, but they don't
Mhm.
see it the way the front lines see it. And so that's the number one. We need collaborations with our clinicians. Number two, we need to make sure that our data is validated, that we're making sure that we're using the right data. Case in point, ChatGPT, not many people know this, but when they were training it, they were paying about $1 an hour to people out in Africa to give it a thumbs up or thumbs down. Well, that sounds good because if ChatGPT, you ask it a medical question, the average person may not know. And so they may say, oh,
Mhm.
yeah, that sounds good to me, thumbs up. What the people don't realize is there weren't doctors giving that thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah.
And so that is an example of how maybe this technology is not fit. And so to answer your question, I'm a big proponent that we need to have our own large language model, our own GPT, but call it,
Mhm.
I'm an ER doctor, GPT ER, where me
Right.
as an ER doctor,
Industry GPT, basically your own operating system.
yes. Yeah. And so that would be another way. That way we're complying with the standards. We're
Mhm.
making sure that this data is correct. We're reinforcing the data the correct way. To go into the weeds, we're creating like a GPT where if I ask a question like, hey, this person has chest pain and it gives me the different options,
Mhm.
then a graph that shows me how did you come up to that conclusion. So then me as a doctor can look and say, okay, now I see how the computer got that diagnosis. It put these things together. That's one way. The second thing to go into more detail would be this thing called RAG.
Mhm.
Basically, imagine if I'm a ER doctor and I had my own clinical notes, and then say you had a question, those went to my notes first before it went to ChatGPT, and then it would explore that to answer your
Mhm.
question. So you're getting a more accurate look at it.
Mhm. Not only in terms of content, but context, right? And
Yes,
it's timely, it's accurate, and it's current. That's the kind of the whole idea of RAG. So,
yes.
no, that's great. I think what you mentioned are like the huge key components to reap the benefits of AI. So, great points. So now, in a recent study of the Journal of Healthcare Innovation, highlighted the importance of interdisciplinary collaboration. It also emphasized continuous learning opportunities and drive positive change within the healthcare organizations. So now, what strategies do you employ to create a synergistic environment that foster innovation?
You know, the number one thing is I always tell everyone that works with me there are no stupid questions and there are no stupid solutions. We just need to work together. I don't want pride to hinder, so I have an open door policy. I want them to always to be able to come to me. I love this little gadget. It's the Apple Vision Pro.
Mm,
In continuing education, this is a big one, and this is a crazy story. Not many non-physicians know this story. So in med school, the rule is see one, do one, and then teach one.
mm,
And so, give you a case in point, I was in residency, so learning how to be an ER doctor, and they said, Harvey, come over here. We're going to teach you how to intubate. It's when you put a tube down someone's throat and help them breathe artificially. And so they showed me, and they're like, okay, the next one, it's your turn. And I'm like,
mm,
oh my gosh. I mean, I've read about this, I've seen it, And so literally I was doing it. And then as soon as I was done, they're like, okay, Harvey, now your turn to teach the next guy or girl.
Mhm.
Imagine a world where I had this and I was able to do this 100 times over and
Mm.
over and over and practice and stimulate and over and over. And then when I did that first one with a real person, it really wasn't the first time. The muscle memory's there, the theory, my procedure. And so that's one way of how we can continue improve our continuous learning and create that supportive culture so that people
Mhm.
feel like, hey, this is the new way of learning.
That's true. And do you think that in the age of AI, continuous learning and lifelong learning and all of, all in that realm is so important? And especially if you're going to keep up with the advancements of AI, right?
Yeah. This is an interesting question. I call it the bell curve.
Hmm.
We have people that I'll say here in I'm in Dallas, Texas. If I go to East Texas and I talk about AI, immediately there's this wall and they're like, whoa, 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 that's the devil. No, 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 I don't like that. No, that's not right. But I give the same talk in Silicon Valley, and
Oh,
they're the ones wanting to be like, yeah, hey, high fives, like, oh, I like
yeah.
that. And it's a different thing. So when it comes to healthcare and what we're talking about right now, we need to keep in mind like what is the culture in that area.
Hmm.
Maybe we don't show them the limousine. Maybe we show them a baby step, something
Hmm.
smaller that they can say, okay, I'll accept that, knowing
Hmm.
that we can give them the limousine. But if we do, we may scare them away.
It's overwhelming. Yeah. No, I agree. When I talk to folks, sometimes they don't know where to start or what AI or how it can help them. My advice to many is like start small,
Mhm.
identify what your pain points are. I mean, you got to know your business. You got to know who your customers are and what goals you wanted to achieve. And then when you know that, identify what are the hurdles, what are those inefficiencies that you just love to do away. And
Yeah.
then prioritize, start with the small, gain confidence. I think once you experience that, and then you can dial things up. It is overwhelming, for
Yeah.
folks, yourself and me, like we immerse ourselves every day.
Yeah.
So it becomes our vocabulary and the air and just everything in our realm. So I think it's so true that you kind of test the temperature or the culture of the group that you're talking to. So thank you. Now,
Yeah.
recent study has shed some light on the complex of ethics of using AI in healthcare. And study in the Journal of Medical Ethics looked at the potential risks of AI algorithms. If not developed and implemented responsibly, these algorithms could perpetuate biases,
Mhm.
disparities in patient care. And the study also stressed the importance of addressing fairness, transparency, and accountability. So, considering the multifaceted ethical landscape of AI in healthcare, so how do you navigate these considerations? And what
Yeah.
steps do you take to ensure that the technologies that you advise align with the key ethical principles?
Yeah, no, this is such an important question. And I actually appreciate you taking time to ask that. When I think about it, the number one thing that I think of is lack of education. If I'm a doctor and pretend I'm brand new, I just graduated, I may believe everything I see. I may
Mhm.
believe ChatGPT or some GPT that says, "Oh, this is it," because in my mind, I grew up with it. I've seen it. I'm thinking, "No, this is the standard." Someone like me that's been doing this for 20 years, if you give me an output from GPT, I'll look at him like, "Oh no, that's wrong. Here's why," because my clinical
Mhm.
gestalt tells me otherwise. That's why we need to keep a human in the loop. So to
Mhm.
answer your question, I think we need to educate. We need to educate everyone. What are the good, the bad, the unknown? And when it comes to ethical issues, some of the physicians may not realize this is biased information and they're being told biased information and they're going to continue that biased information and reinforce it. But
Mhm.
if we educate these physicians and nurses and healthcare professionals to say, hey, keep an eye open for these things, know that this is could be wrong and here's why. The other thing that I think is so important, and I really want this to come out, we go to the grocery store, we buy soup, we buy something, we look at the cans, we see the food label. Why are we not having a food label for large language model? Why don't I have
Mm.
something that says, hey, Miss Brown, here's this AI, here's the food label, but you know what? It wasn't trained in this data. It wasn't trained in this. It's biased in the following things. And so when you use it, make sure that you keep this in mind. And so then now you look at it, you're like, oh, okay, I shouldn't use this tool for this. Maybe I should use
Mm-hmm.
this other tool. And I think that will help us create those right ethical frameworks.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is we need transparency. That example that I gave you with Graph GPT, if I don't know how you got to that conclusion, kind of like in grade school when we do math in our head and our teacher gets on us like, no, 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 show me the work. Same thing. Let's be transparent. Show me how AI got to this. What database did it go into? Where did you get that information? Were you using PubMed? Were you using recent studies? Did you confabulate this thing? Is this hallucinating? And so we need to be as transparent as possible. And we need to make sure that all the stakeholders involved, including our patients, are aware of the good, the bad, and the unknown. When I consult hospitals, I'm telling them, hey, we need a bill of rights, but like the bill of rights for AI at your hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Because patients are going to use Dr. Google. Now they're using Dr. GPT or Dr.
Or Dr.
ChatGPT.
Perplexity, right?
Yes, Dr. Perplexity.
Or
And so
Wikipedia.
yes. And so we need, as a society, to make sure that all the stakeholders understand what they're doing. I say this often. I'm worried for the people here in the United States, but I'm even more worried for people outside the US that can self-diagnose, walk
Yeah.
over to the pharmacy and say, hey,
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT told me I need this drug, and they start taking it. And they're wrong on so many levels. So I think we need to educate to make sure that these ethical guidelines are there for all of us.
Absolutely. It has some huge implications. But do you see that, AI, in my mind, how I internalize this, it's like a GPS, right? But
Hmm.
it still needs a driver, and that's you. That's you and I.
Yes,
We're the driver,
exactly.
and it's all in our prompt, right?
Hmm.
We steer it, it gives us, it uncovers insights, but it requires you and I to prompt accordingly.
Yeah. My favorite phrase to what you just said is the way I see it is human, which in my case is doctor, plus AI. It's going to beat out the best human out there and the best AI out there. And
Mm-hmm.
so let's be that GPS. Let the human in the
Mm-hmm.
loop. But then I'm a human. At 2 in the morning, am I at best? Am I ready to go? Will I make mistakes? Possibly more. But can I afford mistakes? I cannot afford any
Mm-mm.
mistakes. But if I augment myself and I use AI and I use my clinical gestalt, and together I'm going to give such better care. Not that I'm
Mm-hmm.
stupid, not that I don't know, but at the end of the day, I'm human. But if I have these algorithms built into my electronic medical record, built into my workflow, now it's going to be better. I'll show you this quick prompt. I got these Meta glasses, and right now it's connected to ChatGPT. So if you ask me questions, it could hear it, tell me what I need to say, and it'll tell you. But in a clinical case, I could take a picture of an X-ray, analyze it. It'll tell me what it is, what it's seen. And so this is the type of stuff that will become common for every day. The other thing, this is a 3D model that I printed. It's the rabbit that's coming out. And they're saying, yeah, it's just like an app, but just work with me for a second. Imagine someone's having a heart attack and I need to call the cardiologist, the hospital, the CAF team, all these people. But if I could take a picture, obviously make sure that's HIPAA compliant, and it automatically, I say, hey, code heart attack, and it automatically sends texts, pictures to the right people, to the right
Mm-hmm.
algorithm. And within seconds, I can still work on the patient, but that part of the work is done. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, let's use this technology and see how we can
Mm-hmm.
help people.
Absolutely. I love it. I love your thinking, your innovating and encouraging the listeners to really take it to heart and proceed it with enthusiasm, but with caution and bring the good out of it and serve and solve more problems, you know. So now, can you share a specific example of how AI has directly improved patient outcomes directly?
Oh yeah, no, this is awesome. There's so many that come to mind, but I'll focus on two. Since I'm an ER doctor, I'll share this one. One of my colleagues has this AI device and technology, and I'm jealous because our hospital doesn't have it. But here's what it is: say someone's having a stroke, the AI is able to, in real time, read the CAT scan and send text to the radiologist, the doctor, in real time saying, hey, this person's having a bleed. I'm reading the x ray myself or the CAT scan. And then automatically, whatever the radiologist is doing is saying, oh my gosh, I need to take care of this because it's showing alert. And then me in the front lines in the emergency room is telling me, hey, this is a stroke. And so now I can start the ball rolling instead of waiting. The radiologist has a list and then possibly missing it. That's one that immediately I'm going to be helping patients. The other one that comes to mind, One of my friends invented this. It's pretty cool. It's basically a large language model device that sits over the patient's bed and it's just looking, and it's basically for the elderly. And so, as we know, if God forbid an elderly falls and breaks their hip, their mortality goes up. I mean, multiple things, especially there's just a lot of stuff that hit their head. What this device does is in real time analyzing, and if the patient is making a gesture at their phone, it can analyze. But if it's ripping the IV or making the gesture of getting out of bed, then the AI is immediately texting the nurse, texting the doctor, saying, "Hey, your patient's about to get out," and then simultaneously in their language using AI and saying, if it's in Spanish, "Señora Garcia, don't get up," and so then it's talking to them, and then I'm like, wow, this is going to save lives. This is going to be amazing because healthcare is expensive, and I know hospital administrators, as a formal one, I used to pay people to sit by a patient to keep an eye on them. Now having a device like this would be amazing.
Absolutely. But here's another consideration. Integrating AI into existing healthcare systems comes with significant challenges. There's the technical, there's operational, and cultural barriers that healthcare organizations face when adapting AI technologies. So these challenges include, for instance, data quality, standardization issues, interoperability concerns, and resistance to change among healthcare
Hmm.
professionals. Very common things, right? Now, there's also concerns about the potential impact of AI on the workforce dynamics and job roles within the healthcare organizations. And when you try to move this or to ensure a smooth transition and buy in from all the key stakeholders at all levels, it's so important for the successful of AI integration. So, given the complex challenges that you've discussed and I just added, so how do you approach the integration of AI into existing healthcare systems? And what strategies have you found effective in overcoming these barriers and ensuring successful adoption process?
You know, you're gonna laugh when I say this. My analogy is equivalent to arguing with your spouse. At the end of the day, how do you fix the solution, or what's the solution? It's education. You educate each
Mhm.
other on how you see it, and you find that compromise. Same in healthcare. Someone comes in with the shiny object and say, "Hey, we want to put this in your hospital." It's about educating the team. To your point, helping with the culture. They're going to be resistant to change. The interoperability issue, going in and having someone like us, healthcare, that we know it, and when we integrate these things, we know that ahead of time that this has to be compliant. This has to be able to work with the electronic medical record if that's what I'm trying to do. And so some of the other solutions, people are scared of this technology and they're worried that this is now going to be another cybersecurity issue. So one of
Mhm.
my suggestions is saying, you know what, I get it. Let's create a large language model and let's use something like Llama 3 and let's put it in your hospital servers. That way you're in control of the data. It's not leaving your servers, it's
Right.
staying inside your servers. And that's one idea that hospitals are very receptive, saying, okay, it makes me feel better knowing that this data is here, because they know that if that data leaks, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
with HIPAA issues, it could be literally millions of dollars that are at risk if they don't do this correctly.
hmm So, what you're encouraging them to do is to have their own AI ecosystem,
Yes.
um, their own operating system, okay, where they can ingest their own data and not have it leak, but using whatever model applications out there. For me, it's Microsoft Azure AI, but there
Yes.
are others. I think that's key, right? To ensure, give them that confidence that is secured, private, and transparent. I mean, to me, that should be the first thing when you talk to folks who are hesitant about AI, is to give them the confidence of their customer service, their sales and marketing, their
Yeah.
patient data, and so forth. So that's great.
Yeah.
So now, what excites you most about the potential of AI in revolutionizing healthcare delivery?
Gosh, my brain just exploded with all of that. I get excited about a lot of things. Number one, seeing the ability of certain healthcare professionals sustain the profession because of AI makes me excited. Let me explain. if I know a physician or nurse is going to retire because they're tired of the system, and let's say they don't like the documentation, and let's pretend that we use AI to this conversation we're having is transcribing and it's going, and now they're like, wow, I don't have to type. Man, that makes me excited because now I know that with this aging population and aging workforce that we have, we're going to get to a point where we're already there. It's going to get worse.
Yeah, we're
And so if we
there.
can, yeah, so if we can leverage AI to help decrease burnout, help
Hmm.
job satisfaction with our healthcare professionals, then man, that's a huge win. So to me, that's number
Hmm.
one. Number two, obviously, that's helping with efficiency, helping us with repetitive information, things that we don't like to do. Give it to the AI. Let AI do it,
Hmm.
and AI can do that. The other part that makes me excited as a doctor is the predictive analytics. I'll give you the example of New York Tron, where I'm about to discharge you, pretend, and the AI is going through your medical record and says, Miss Brown, there's another 20 patients that are fit her profile. And if you send her home today, she's going to come back by tomorrow in the
Hmm.
next 10 days. And then
Yeah.
to be able to use predictive analytics to say, you know what? My clinical gestalt missed XYZ. You know what?
Hmm.
The AI is right on this one. I am not going to let her go home yet. I need to make sure I address these factors and then I'll let her go. I was like, wow,
Hmm.
I'm helping
Yeah.
her. I'm giving her better care. And so that makes me really excited. And then the last is on the personalization part. Man, AI can take huge information that our brains can't handle. If I
Hmm.
did a genetic makeup of what you are, and in my brain I need to figure out what your genetics and what diseases, I mean, that's a lot of information, but if I could put it into AI and help me create a better personalized medicine for you, then man, that's amazing, you know.
Exactly. When it comes to older adults, it's very personalized. Just because you have dementia doesn't mean your treatment is generic for all folks with dementia, right? And
Correct,
and I love
correct.
what you're saying is that even though you're using AI, but the key of it is you're using it to enhance or augment yourself, right? So it's
Yeah.
to improve yourself, but nowhere does it replace your skills, your expertise, and your experience.
Mhm.
It enhances it. That based on what you explained. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Because I think that's one of the fears, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. And that goes back to my bell curve analogy. Someone that has had 20, 30 years may have a hard time realizing AI knows some of this. And that's why I'm thinking
Mm-hmm.
not to take away from that person or her, him or her. It's a combination of the two, but let's leverage those 20, 30 years. The other part to this is at some point that person's going to retire. But if I
Mm-hmm.
can create a digital twin of that doctor and literally download their brain and put those clinical gestalt into an AI algorithm, now
Mm-hmm.
that carries on to the next generation of doctors that can take that wisdom that's not going to be found in any textbook ever. And that's what AI will
Absolutely.
bring to the table.
Absolutely. And for the users that have been prompting in their AI system, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, or whatever applications, all the prompts that you are instilling, typing away, in some ways, you are creating a digital twin of yourself,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, people don't realize that, but that's
yeah,
exactly what they're doing. And
yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that because due to that digital twin that you may not be aware of, it enhances your creativity, your productivity, and even your critical thinking. Because for every prompt and output that you get, you have to take it to the next level, whether you want to improve the output, and it requires you to use your critical thinking.
yeah.
Yeah. So now, how has your experience leading healthcare systems influenced your approach to AI adoption and healthcare management?
No, that's a good question. I feel that having the understanding of medicine, understanding what it is, and being in the front lines has opened my mind to be able to really think outside the box. Let me give you an example. At one point, I had my own emergency room that I owned, and one of the techs says, Doc, why are we going to the patient room when we know that child's broken ankle or arm? Why don't we just take them straight to get an x ray? And why don't we medicate them back in the x ray
Mm-hmm.
room? And I'm thinking, you're right. We don't have to wait for a label to take care of a patient. Let's do that. And so having that experience of medicine has opened my mind to say, let's think outside the box. I'll show another quick prompt, and it's this little plushie. and it has ChatGPT. And let me explain, as an administrator, knowing medicine and knowing that this technology exists, if I have a child that I have a hard time communicating, why not use the plus sheet to walk them through a
Mhm.
scary moment, to explain to them what the MRI is going to do or what's going to happen, or speak to them in their language or in their voice of a 5 year old?
Mhm.
That kind of information has helped because I know the problems as an administrator. I've seen it as a doctor. Now putting those problems and looking at AI and how fast it's moving and some solutions, I'm like, wait a second, let's put this technology with these problems and let's create solutions to improve healthcare. And that really has given me the edge of being able to have that leadership insight, that strategic vision, better allocation of my resources, because I'm like, wait a second, AI can actually do these things that you're not looking at. And so it's giving me an edge for sure. And I feel like all healthcare professionals will have that edge.
So true. And the plus that you just described, talk about personalization to your client, your patient, right? Now you're speaking to where they are, their language, their age level, and the condition they're in, whether it's, um, they're there for an MRI or something. So true example of customization, and it's relatable. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, assessing the success and the effectiveness of AI in healthcare is so important to ensure that the value and the impact is worthwhile. And there are multiple metrics and frameworks for evaluating AI performance in clinical settings. Some of the metrics could be diagnostic accuracy, patient outcomes, operational efficiency, and cost effectiveness, right? And factors like user satisfaction and workflow integration, the AI's ability to enhance clinical decision um, are all variables. So now developing a comprehensive and standardized metrics for assessing AI success is very challenging because different healthcare settings and AI applications may require tailored evaluation approaches. So given the importance of measuring AI effectiveness, so what specific metrics do you use to assess the success of AI implementations?
The main thing I look for is I look at the team. Do we have a cross-disciplinary team, or do we have a healthcare professional? Do we have an AI specialist? Do we have an administrator? Are they all working together? And then the
Mm-hmm.
second that I look at is, are they communicating? Is the right hand talking to the left hand? Are they really? And those are some of my metrics, because if they're not regularly meeting or communicating, they're going to start going in different angles and they're going to start solving it differently. And then the last thing is I do metrics and where I'm testing the data. Is that algorithm, let's pretend it's supposed to fix problem X. I'm checking it. So a month from now, 3 months, is it still fixing X? Or has the reinforced learning created something called data drift, where now it's not solving that problem like it used to? And so we need to make sure, one of my metrics is to make sure that it is solving the problem that you bought it for, that you created it for. And that seems so simple and elementary, but at times, if you're not aware of these issues, it's going to start doing that. So all those things are so important once we're developing these AIs in our healthcare system.
Mm-hmm. You know, um, I think when you say education, collaboration, synergy, and developing that trust, I think that's just key in any environment, but particularly the implications of healthcare is huge. And when it comes to um, like AI and all the complexities and the negativity that potentially could come with it, everything that you uncovered is really key. So I think it's important that these silos that might occur in the healthcare settings, we have to remove those silos and collaborate across.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Now, do you or how can AI be leveraged to address health disparities and promote equitable access to care? What's your take on that?
Yes, that's a tough one. You know, Again, I'm going to use my ER example because I'm an ER doctor. Being able to take real time data and analyze it is amazing. For example, if I'm in the emergency room and I see someone with diarrhea, I'm like, oh, just another diarrhea case. But then if I'm using AI and it's networked with a bunch of hospitals and they're seeing certain cases, they can say, wait a second, this is bad X, this is bad meat, this is from this one restaurant. Now we're able to communicate. And so
Hmm.
to answer your question is, I really think it could help us analyze the data, so data analytics. It could help us with resource allocation. So if I'm looking at my data and I'm saying, this part of Dallas is underserved and we're seeing these type of cases usually from this area, then I can use AI to turn around and say, you know what, we need more resources in this. It may be their water quality. It may be something as simple as they need a bus route to take them to the hospital. Maybe that area code doesn't have a way to get to the hospital and they can't afford to, they don't have a car, they can't afford a taxi, maybe they could afford it. So then those things is using AI to say, you know what, this is the solution.
Hmm.
Creating these customized interventions. Another one is, I'm Hispanic, I speak Spanish. Being able to give better discharge instructions, better information. So customize my intervention. So if we're saying, hey, the iPhone will take care of it, but then my population doesn't have an iPhone, doesn't have a
Yeah.
smart
Yeah.
device. So then now I need to see, how can I fix that? What can I do? And I really think using AI will help me leverage, will help me figure out what it is that I'm doing wrong. How can I
Hmm.
intervene? And then that could be my solution. So if I don't speak Spanish, use AI to help me translate in real time. If I give discharge papers that are in English, let's create them so that they're in Spanish, but let's
Hmm.
customize them to their culture.
Hmm.
Someone from Spain speaks different Spanish than someone from South America, and
Right.
people within South America. So why not? Why create one discharge instruction for that entire culture? Why not create different ones specific for that race, ethics, age, so that we can really talk to them?
Hmm. So true. Now, I'll use an example with folks with dementia because that's what I know. Dementia and Parkinson is the environment that I live in because my siblings and my parents. Um, for those that don't speak their language, their native language, and to hear their native language while they're having dementia, it deeply resonates because it brings back the history, the stories, and what they remember. And I think that's really important to have the ability to relate to them in that way, right? Because it's hard to read and to get them to register what you're saying. So the ability to personalize, whether it's cognitive decline or the language barrier, that's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what strategies do you recommend for enhancing AI competency and readiness among healthcare staff? Like what education, what
Yeah.
and where?
Obviously, I'm really big on education. So I think we need training programs, but not just anyone. We need healthcare professionals that understand medicine and AI. You know, a lot of these training programs, when I look at their curriculum, I can tell it was written by a non clinician and that they're teaching the clinician. So it needs to have an interdisciplinary effect where we have doctors, nurses, and we're using. So we definitely need the right training programs. We need to change our education and our continuing education and make sure that AI is involved so that they understand. And again, it goes to my analogy of the bell curve. We're going to have people like me that are early adopters that want to learn everything they can, but then you're going to have people that are late adopters, and you can't teach those two people the same. And so we need
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that when we're teaching them to their level and getting them
Mm-hmm.
all to a certain level. And so
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying is we need practical workshops. We need
Mm-hmm.
something that I can go in and see the good, the bad, the ugly. But then someone like me might get bored in the first 10 minutes. So we need to kind of all of us educate ourselves at certain levels. So what I'm saying out there is we need to make sure that you're following people in healthcare. Like I follow you on LinkedIn. I'm learning from you. I'm learning from other influencers. And so that's what we need to do is that continual mindset of learning forever to continue to say, you know what, I'm learning from Dr. Castro, but I'm learning from Miss Brown. I'm learning from all these experts. And we need to create that culture and we need to instill it into the hospital system so that we're continuing to learn.
Absolutely. So true. I love that you keep saying the word learning and open mind, lifelong learning, because we're in that place right now. That's
Yeah.
period. We are in a place that we must adapt this everyday learning, adapting, opening your minds, and trying new things. And the thing is, when you try new things, chances are it may not work for you the first time. Because even earlier on, when I was trying to prompt, well, I wasn't so good. I did not get the output that I was looking for. So it's not the tool, it's not the AI, it's your ability or inability to prompt. But you got to practice and practice and practice. And after thousands and thousands, you know what? I've increased my efficiency quite a bit because I'm better at prompting. So I think part of the learning is very humble to know
Yes.
that you may not get the results that you want to get right away. There's humility and there's keep pressing on and a childlike attitude. And that's okay. And that's what's exciting about where we are right now.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's great. So now, how do you ensure the quality, security, and privacy of healthcare data used in the AI applications you described?
Yeah, number one, obviously data encryption. I'm becoming really good friends with our CIO and those individuals to make sure that our data is safe. That's why I gave that suggestion earlier. It makes sense to me to have that large language model on our hospital servers, that it's
Hmm.
encrypted, that we know are HIPAA compliant, that we know that there's strong access control so that not any user can walk up to any computer and just log in. Where those access controls are strong in the hospital, we got to make sure that those are going on. We're continuous monitoring of who's logging in and what data it's using. This is an old example, but when I was in med school, I had a really famous person that came to the hospital, and all these medical students were logging in to that patient's record because they wanted to see why they were there. And
Hmm.
so being able to have that strong compliance monitoring to make sure that we're regulating who has access to that data, and then where's that data going? Is it going to ChatGPT? Is it staying in our hospital servers? Is that data secure? And so that's a whole other hour talk that we can have on data
Yeah.
security, but it's a
Hmm.
very good question.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Well, here's a big one: burnout. It's a growing concern in the healthcare industry. Now, studies show it can lead to decreased job satisfaction and reduced patient care quality. It can even lead to higher rates of medical errors. So, as healthcare organizations seek solutions, some researchers have begun to explore AI's potential in alleviating physician burnout. So, now, do you think, or what's your take on AI powered tools that could help streamline clinical workflows and reduce administrative burdens? Could it support clinical decision making processes? And I mean, we all know, at least from the outside, and you see it more day to day, there's AI based systems for documentation assistance, there's image analysis, patient triage could save physicians time and effort. This would allow them to focus more on direct patient care. But the role of AI in addressing physician burnout is still an emerging area of research. There's concern about the potential unintended consequences.
Hmm.
It includes increased technology dependence and a need for more training. So, a lot of complexity. So, considering
Yeah.
all the potential of AI in this context, do you believe that AI can help alleviate physician burnout? And if so, how do you envision AI being leveraged to support physicians?
Oh gosh, I love this topic.
That's a
So
that's a giant.
yeah, that's a big one. I love this one though. So
Yeah.
let's start with administrative automation. If I'm speaking to you and I'm catching your eye twitching, your subtle
Hmm.
movements, why not use AI to give me that information of this conversation so it's transcribing it? But
Hmm.
if my computer is over here and I'm typing and I'm looking at you every other sentence, I may be missing a lot of information, and I have a story of a physician that I hired, and he couldn't type. He would type with two
Hmm.
fingers, and he would literally stay 3 hours after work, and we would work 12-hour shifts, and he would stay 15 hours because he was trying to keep up with the paperwork. Why not use AI? And he was one that he's like, Harvey, I'm ready to retire. But now
Hmm.
with AI able to transcribe this conversation, yes, you can hire another human to transcribe it. We didn't have that. And so being able to have AI create these automations, huge. The other one is I mentioned earlier, the decision support. 2 in the morning, I'm tired. Using AI to help catch things, give me a better care for my patients. Amazing. We talked about the predictive analytics, but the one that it's a little controversy when I say is I see a future where robots are going to come to play. And I know people are like, oh
Hmm.
my gosh, he's talking about robots. I do. I see a future where,
Hmm.
say, I had a robot next to me and I'm taking care of Miss Brown, and I'm saying, hey, what is her hemoglobin A1C? And based on your voice, it's analyzing your voice and saying, oh, her sugar is this.
Hmm.
Or it's saying to me, hey, doc, when you were examining her, I noticed you didn't look at her ears. And because of what she says, that's an important part of the exam. You need to go back and check her ears. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Or
Yeah.
what about my nurses that are really have bad backs because they're lifting all these patients? But if I had a robot to say, hey, help me with Miss Brown, she needs to go to the restroom. Can you assist her? And now my nurse is like, you know what? I'm not going to retire. The robot is doing all the heavy lifting because physically I'm about to retire because I can't go anymore. So I really think this is going to be a huge solution that we're going to start seeing in healthcare.
Wow, bless you. And I think you're right. And we just are excited to be a part of this day and age, right? It's so exciting to live and learn and grow along with the AI integration in our business life, but also in our home life, because it's like electricity in my mind, right? It's going to infiltrate every aspect. I don't know what part of life it's not going to affect.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So now, what advice would you give to healthcare professionals um, that are wanting to navigate in this system? There's something going on with my. Um, can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay, hang
Yeah.
on. I can't see you anymore.
Oh, I see myself, and I see it going. So maybe she'll log right back in. And so then I'll answer that question as soon as you get back. But to repeat it for everybody else that's able to hear me, because I know we're live, the question was, what advice would I give other healthcare professionals or students looking to contribute to AI healthcare, I believe is what she said. And number one, I would say, let's stay informed. Number two is let's develop our skills. And then number three is let's collaborate. And then number four is let's make sure that as we move forward, let's move forward ethically. And so when I say stay informed, follow Ms. Brown here, follow me, follow other experts. If your hospital is resistant to change, then share this type of video with your hospital administrator. Be that advocate. If you're actually listening to this, that tells me that you're wanting to learn more. So
Mhm.
pass this knowledge, whatever we gave you today, to the next person next to you to improve. And so let's collaborate together so that we can make a better workforce, a better tomorrow for our healthcare.
Mm, awesome. Well, thank you so much. I mean, I'm very blessed to be a part of this conversation, and I'm so thankful that we are in the age of AI, that we can share and we can learn from one another. And it doesn't matter where you are in this journey. We're students. We're students of AI, of large language models, of all these applications that are coming out. So feel free to reach out, to follow Dr. Castro, to myself, ask questions. We're going to ask you guys, gals, questions as well. And to Dr. Castro, thank you for your passion and expertise, and your vision for the future of healthcare is very inspiring. Your journey from practicing medicine to becoming a strategic advisor for GPT in healthcare is a testament to the transformative power of curiosity, innovation, and the relentless pursuit of better patient outcomes. So, throughout our conversations, you've shared invaluable insights into the challenges and opportunities of AI adoption. From ensuring clinical alignment and data integrity to fostering collaborative environments and addressing ethical considerations. So, your comprehensive approach to AI integration is a roadmap for success. And your real world examples of AI's impact on patient care is very powerful. And your strategies for preparing healthcare staff for the AI revolution, very practical. And your commitment to leveraging technology to address health disparities and promote equity is admirable. So these are all reminders of the immense potential that lies ahead. And to the folks that are listening, watching, I encourage you to embrace the insights shared by Dr. Castro today in our conversation. So, whether you're a healthcare professional, a student, or simply someone passionate about the future of healthcare, it's never been a moment more exciting time to get involved in the AI revolution. Imagine a future where AI and healthcare professionals work hand in hand, a future where personalized, efficient, and equitable care is provided to patients worldwide, where data driven insights guide clinical decision making, where physician burnout is alleviated by AI powered support systems, and where health disparities are addressed through innovative technological solutions. Well, this future is within our reach, but it will take collective effort to make it a reality. It will require visionaries like Dr. Castro, healthcare organizations, AI developers, and individuals like you. So I ask you, what role will you play in shaping the future of healthcare? How will you contribute to the AI revolution that promises to transform lives and improve health outcomes across the globe? So the path ahead may be challenging, but with the guidance like leaders like Dr. Castro and the passion and dedication professionals like you, we can create a healthcare system that harnesses the power of AI to provide exceptional care to every patient every time. So thank you, Dr. Castro, for sharing your wisdom and inspiration with us today. And thank you to our listeners for joining us to this exciting journey. So together, let us heal with data, one bite at a time. Take care, and thank you for your attention.